Rahubat Moisa, did consciousness always exist? And are there different types, not levels of consciousness, not levels of consciousness, and are we all connected to the same consciousness? Okay, so a lot of times we ask questions based on our experience, obviously, as humans on the planet. And when what we call consciousness to us is the ability to be aware, and to be aware means that there is intelligence and movement. So yes, in that regard, consciousness always existed, because when we're dealing with intelligence and movement, it's like saying, if you think about how you begin in terms of your life, you begin as a sperm, a tadpole looking entity, but you know how to move and race to get to the ovum, right, of the woman. And so life begins with that race of 7,777,777 sperms, approximately, right? And out of that amount of sperm racing on this rate, we call it in the chaotic waters, because you're like in water racing to the ovum, and the person that wins the race is the person that becomes you. If you're alone, in the sense of you didn't come with a twin. On rare occasions, you have maybe two or even more sometimes, but you get like fraternal twins, identical twins, and so there will be two. But really, the fact that you have the knowledge or the intelligence to know how to navigate or to move and go to a specific place, to come here and be grown in the womb of your mother, that's consciousness, right? Even when you go back to before that, say like the universe, the birth of the universe, like something caused movement to create friction, because everything vibrates and everything moves. When I say movement, because you're dealing with, to be conscious is to move, is to have intelligence to know what's going on. So how did friction just come about for a big bang to come about to cause the universe? And then from that point, there's a chain reaction of events, and intelligence. Like, if something is in darkness, because remember, light didn't exist. So light coming out of darkness, I'm saying all this to say that depending on your level of attainment and your level of, that's what we we're saying earlier on, consciousness, in terms of how you're elevating yourself, right? Physically, spiritually, mentally, etherically, you're gonna realize that there are beings that exist on higher levels of consciousness outside of what you call time, matter, and space, right? Because movement creates expansion, like from the big bang of the universe, and then it starts to expand and grow and grow and grow and grow. And everything then within it is also expanding and growing. There's levels of intelligence that are outside of that bubble. And this is why we keep explaining to people that our ancestors, who have evolved to the state of being pure energy beings as Etherians, ether energy, right? Because ether is the highest level in terms of, when we say 9 ether, we're talking about the combination of all existing conscious gases, right? When we say conscious gases, it means they're intelligent, they know what to do, they know how to come together to evolve and to form things. but we have our ancestors that are pure ether or pure etheric energy. And they are like, in terms of intelligence, millions and millions of years ahead of in terms of their evolution. And we're doing the same. This is why I said at the beginning that we're also now evolving on a conscious level. This means that you have to deal with being able to connect and tap into higher consciousness by way of your mental, where we say the mind or your mind. Your mind is able to connect to the higher conscious realms, and therefore we are all connected, but in various degrees. Yeah, so that's why we say that we have a part of that actually called conscious being. If you haven't read that, it's definitely one you should get hold of, because when you say being, you are more than your skin suit. You're more than the physical you, the material you, which is really bacteria vibrating on the lower levels. And it goes all the way in terms of like, even with your mind, like some people have a mentality that vibrates very low, meaning the vibrations and the thoughts that come out of them are dealing with things on very mundane, low levels. Like they're not really concerned with higher levels of consciousness. They're just concerned with being more of their animal nature, which is based on survival instincts. As long as they're able to have some protection from the elements, food to eat, just like food, shelter, clothing, they're good. They don't really worry or think about the complexities of life in terms of solving problems of the world. They don't think about what happens if, this planet was hit by a meteorite, or what should we do to solve the problems of the planet, like hunger or wars, or even like homelessness, drug problems. Just think of all the problems we have in the world. There are people who try to solve them in an agreeable way. And then you have those who capitalize on people's suffering and want to keep you down and under so that they can control and be on top. Because if you don't have the devil, let's say, or bad, then how can you be good, or how can you feel like you're superior to someone else if they're on the same level as you? And this is what I was saying when I'm talking about the beings like are part of this Illuminati, New World Order, or beings that have some kind of agenda to control everyone and everything. Because in order for them to do that, they need you not to be on the same level as them. This is the argument in the Bible right at the beginning with Adam and Eve, and the situation where, God was saying to them, don't eat of the fruit, right, in the garden, which is the fruit of what? Knowledge, because it says when you eat it, or when they ate it, it says their eyes were open to know what? Good from evil. See? Because up until that point, the God was controlling them, and they did whatever God told them to do. But the serpent comes along and tells them that, no, that's not true. That God is telling you, he's just telling you that so that he can keep you under control, and then he can parade around like he's over you. And the serpent told them the truth. He said, no, that's not true. The day you eat of that fruit, you will not die. For God does know that in the day you eat it, your eyes shall be open. Of course, their eyes were already open because they were walking around, and to be able to see the fruit, to see that it was beautiful, to see the tree, to see this so-called serpent and have a dialogue and speak with, they were walking around in the garden. So their eyes were already open, but it was talking about their third eye, or their pineal gland, the eye that connects you to higher consciousness, you see. So when they ate it, their eyes were open. They started to know things. And that's one of the things today that most people don't know. They're walking around blind. And we come along as OSM Vision with the truth. And we teach and tell you the truth so that your eyes are open and you're like, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know these conspiracies, these things, these agendas are going on, and that you've been maimed by these same gods or extraterrestrials who basically took a part of you away and maimed you so that you lost your barothry gland and you didn't know how to connect back to these higher levels. But because we're reaching a stage now where people are evolving, right, consciously, they're now reactivating, their third eye is opening, they're awoke, and they're like starting to use these higher senses that connects them to the ninth ether, like telepathy, intuition, psychometry, clairvoyance. These are the higher senses that make you a god. And if you're acting and applying the knowledge that you're being given, because that's what it says, to know, and to know, the first part of the word knowledge is know, not to believe or have belief, which clearly you see the word lie in those two words. And this is why religions, the first thing they want you to do is to believe. They say you need to believe in this, you need to believe in God, you need to believe in Jesus, you need to believe in Muhammad, you need to believe in something. And then they go through a ceremony of you, what, being, whether it's baptized, taking your shahada, whatever, to say, from now on, I want to believe, not to know. You know, to know is to have knowledge so that you make the right decisions. And so, yes, that's where we are all connected by way of consciousness, but at various different degrees or levels. And this is in our culture referred to as Pa'ut, or the all expanding. So really everyone has the potential, and now no excuse, because the truth is here. You can choose to pretend and put your head, dig your head in sand and just pretend nothing is going on around you, but what are you doing? You're only fooling yourself. And ignorance is not bliss. They showed you that in the movie The Matrix as well, where it was like, do you want to know the truth? Take the blue pill. Or no, do you want to stay in the Matrix and take the red pill? So everyone has the opportunity. And so, you need to start developing the real you, the real inner being, all right? So you need to know how to do that. This is where wu-sabat comes in, with the teachings that really get you to elevate your mind spiritually, the practices, what you put into your body, how you treat people. Do you look after, your internal being through meditation, through spiritual practices? There's so many things, but most people are confused because the world today, going back to the first question about what I'm saying about the New World Order, is done by way of the web, right? The web, that's why I mentioned that computer, IBM 366, because that's how the original web evolved. When you say web, a web is something what the spider uses to trap its prey. And it's no coincidence the word prey relating to the word pray as in prayer. But when you believe, you pray to these gods, you appease these gods, you do things for them to feed off of your energy and have you under control, because you're giving your energy and your power to them. So the web, World Wide Web, if you really go into the word, is zigzag zig, it goes into 666, right? There's many, many things we can talk about and go into, but this is why the web, it can reach anybody anywhere in the world. But again, you have to know how to use it in a positive way and not in a negative way. And so online, there's so much, there's a dark web as well. There's so many things that, you can go underground and do things that appease to these beings. Behind the devices, behind that, there are other entities connected to these devices by way of their energy, and they're pushing out the misinformation, the wrong information. They're pushing out, the pornography. They're pushing out all the things that people go online and may be affected by. But you have to also be in a position where you're using your discernment. You're able to know good from bad, and then you apply the usefulness of the internet or the web, like we're doing. We're using it to reach people, to promote and share truth and share unity and love. You know, so you can always use anything in a positive or a negative way. Just like fire. Fire, people will say, if you ask somebody, is fire bad or good? You're going to get two sides, right? People can use fire. It's not the fire that's the problem. It's how you use it. Do you use it to cook food, to warm, you know, a baby? Do you use it to destroy and burn down things? So that everyone has the fire, but there are two types of fire. You have the destructive one, right? This is the amber light, which deals with the 9 mental diseases. And then you have the green light, which is the healing light. And Michael, or the being that is referred to as Michael, he's of the green light. Then you have the children of Lucifer, the Luciferians, they're children of the amber light. And so this is what's playing out today. You've got to realize you have a fire within you known as your solar plexus. Solar relates to sun, yeah? Solar energy is powerful, but you have to use that fire constructively. You know, some people use it in a destructive manner, and you know, this is what happened in the situations with Cain and Abel in the Bible, and these wars, Enki and Enlil, I mentioned Jacob and Esau, and you can keep going on and on, where one person is aligning themselves with the green light, and the other person in Islam, they refer to that smokeless fire, that you know, when people get angry and they huff and they puff and it's like, I'm going red, like the red energy, that's that fire. It's like you get haughty, you get, your countenance drops where you're no longer in control, and then entities, other beings that jump in you because they love that. That's the energy they want. You know, they want to create the chaos, the wars, the unaliving. So yeah, so really it's down to you. All right, let's keep going.